Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program, Spectra. Ethnic silos, ethnic ghettos, or voluntary diasporas are all synonyms of groups that are made by new immigrants to Canada or many other adoptive countries. These groups are made by people who share the same ethnic background, same beliefs, same religion, and same customs and traditions. Many people at the beginning resort to these groups because they lack the sense of belonging and they are very homesick. But as time passes by, they realize that actually these groups do not give them a true sense of belonging. It is a very false one, because these groups tend to totally isolate them from the mainstream and would be an impediment against their ability to fully integrate into the system and become a true Canadian or a true citizen of the country that they chose to spend the rest of their lives in. As they try to break out, there's a very dear price to do so, because the members of this group will not let them go out easily. They start pointing a finger at them, labeling them, oppressing them, and they would accuse them of no longer belonging to their group, and they have left their faith, their belief, their, patriotism, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, when they try to mix with the other groups available in the country, they are hit by the other problem, which is stereotypes. So at the end, they're in double jeopardy, and they are hit, they find themselves between the hammer and the anvil. Unfortunately, the group that is more subject to most of the abuse of being part of these ethnic silos are the second generation. Children find themselves in a great paradox because they are torn between what they hear from their parents at home and what they see outside in the street. Many parents take the extra mile of further isolating their children and putting them in ethnic schools or in religious schools that totally seclude them and isolate them from the mainstream. So is there a way out, or there is no way out? Is that the end? Well, to shed some light and maybe give us some hope, I'm really delighted to be accompanied tonight by Sereem El-Benhawi. She is the founder of the Sereem Academy. Sereem, hello and welcome to the program.
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you. I really appreciate the great introduction. So yes, I am Sereem El-Benhawi. I am the sole founder of Sereem Academy. My main purpose for opening this academy is for the first and second generation of Syrians or any of the refugee that we have specifically been honored and privileged to have come to Canada and who are seeking just a beautiful life here in Canada. And one of the things that we do focus on is communication. And this is because one of the things that they do go through is isolation. If they do not know how to communicate, you find them behind closed doors, just speaking on the phone to their loved ones or the ones that have come with them in their own language. And here at the Sereem Academy is we teach them English, at least basic communication. And then from there, we move on to whatever needs that they need. Whether it be basic household, we redirect them to that. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, to put us on a good start here, let me read something from your page in the About Us section, and I'll share the pictures with our dear viewers. So I'm just reading from your page. It says, "We are an educational facility running many services for the welfare of Arab newcomers to Canada and the Muslim community in Canada. We educate women, teens, and children of all ages, as well as provide service for moral support, coaching, and mentoring. We hold programs especially beneficial for individuals that seek guidance but wish for coaches with Arabic or Islamic identity and values. We are a Canadian-based academy hoping to provide more services in the future to Canadian immigrants to first, second, and third generations alike. Okay, as I read here, a couple of red flags showed up, and I would like to discuss them with you here. So here it says, we are an educational facility running many services for the welfare of Arab newcomers to Canada and Muslim community in Canada. So Arab and Muslim, isn't this a form of isolation, or am I missing something?
So you say that it might be a form of isolation, but I will tell you that it's on the contrary. We bring the newcomers, when they come, the first thing in mind is for how is it going to be facilitated for them, how to conform into the Canadian society, being Arab and Muslim. They are coming from war zones, and just to look at it, a lot of them are they're enduring trauma, and they feel they have been, they have arrived to a safe haven, but at the same time, they feel alienated. And our concern when they do come, because of the trauma and the traumatization, especially for the teenagers, is to just, get them to that comfort zone. You're okay. You are safe here. This is a choice. You're here to make a great life. And one of the things that we do concentrate on is to not necessarily just tell them, you know what, you're going to be fine if you just go to the mosques. And this is one of the problems that we've had in the past, where Arabs and Muslims, or Arab Muslims, should I say, they assume that the first place they should be going to is the mosque. It is definitely our spiritual, place, our sacred, how can you say, haven for them to go to. But at the same time, they need to go through a series of, healing their mental health. And so instead of saying, you know what, this is the first thing you do is pick up the holy book and start reading, it is great. But alongside to that is one of the services that we have is dealing with anxiety. We have our own team of psychologists. I myself, I do mentoring and coaching. So when I first give them the interview, I can tell where they're at. Sometimes they are of great background and they speak very good English. Some of them come from very good, educational backgrounds. But when we say Muslim, I mean someone who does want to resort to God as healing. And the Arab part is usually when we're targeting people that do not speak English. So, and a lot of the war zones, they didn't have the chance to go to school. Some of them have been in the camps for a very long time. Parents have come, they're like, you know what, we want our children to go to the public schools, but they also need English tutoring. And that's something else, if you'd like to see on our website, we do also offer English classes. So
you offer your services to Arab Muslims. So for the person to receive your services, he or she has to be an Arab Muslim, or is it enough for them to be Muslim only or Arab only? Moreover, is it possible to offer services to a non-Arab and a non-Muslim?
Oh, most definitely. We offer to, especially with the English, we don't put a condition that you have to be Muslim nor Arab. I've had a client that actually was of Hispanic origin. And the reason why he wanted to learn English is because he felt that maybe someone who was used to dealing with immigrants could be more sympathetic when teaching them LINK, for instance, or other programs that we have for ESL.
Okay, so as I understand, you give, so you have a LINK program in your academy?
It's necessary. It's an out of the program. Like I do link it to another Canadian facility that do take a wide range of nationalities.
Okay.
But So it's almost like for me, the Serene Academy is to attract those that feel isolated already. So when they do come there, they are, shocked. For instance, I myself, I'm born and raised in Canada. I might not sympathize as much as they think, but at the same time, I give them that comfort where they feel that their children are in good hands. Being brought up as a Canadian Muslim, this is something that I had to figure out on my own. And with my own expertise or my own background, I want to offer that to them without them going through the struggle or feeling that they do need to isolate themselves in order to save their views and their values and beliefs. And that's not the case.
Okay, the other red flag that rose, you said you give services to children, teens, and women. So is it only for females? So like no place for boys? Or again, is this some form of sexual segregation?
It's not really sexual segregation. I truly made that decision. It's based on a personal decision at the beginning, only because when you do make a service for immigrants, and yet there are other facilities, like we do have on north side of Edmonton where it's called CAFA. A lot of the men go there, so I know I'm not isolating or choosing to be gender biased. I do prefer to deal with women and children only because their concerns actually we can provide for them the services. Some men in the past have asked for different services that are not available with Serene Academy.
But would you, keep the door sort of open to men or teens, like teenagers, like male teenagers in the future or at the present time?
Yes, most definitely. This is something that was discussed with the board. We've already opened services for teenage boys. Our only concern was the 25 to 40 age group of men, where they weren't necessarily asking for any of the services that we provide. And clientele is very important with the Serene Academy. We want to keep the ongoing service with our clients rather than having someone who's just there for opposite reasons.
And when you say that you can offer services to men or to teenagers, boys again, will this be again like boys only and girls only, or is there a possibility of having both of them together, like the norm here in Canada? In school, in university, at work, you have males and females side by side.
Yes, because this is an educational facility, boys and girls being taught at the same time gives way also for engagement in the conversations, and it's actually more educational that way, so that the girls can see how boys will answer the same questions that they're also being asked. So it is a little more learning experience most of the time. I have no opposition to that whatsoever. Only when it's case sensitive, like you say, if we're going to speak about female hygiene, we'd rather have a discussion girls only, girl talk, because I do have the Serene Circle, which is very, very grounded in girl talks and private conversations that do not include, boys being there. And same thing for the boys. We've also had a boys hangout. So we do have those on instances, but when we want to give a workshop in which both genders can benefit, we definitely put them together.
Okay, so there is it's not a target in itself to isolate males and females or to have them in two separate sort of paradigms or systems. So definitely, my concerns here, and when I present the program, I always take the other side. So I have to be, as they say, the devil's advocate or the advocate of the opposition. So I have to always, think out loud like other people might think. And so Because, when you give the school the name Islamic or Arabic, whatnot, there is a stereotype that jumps into people's heads. And usually stereotypes are not correct. Most of the time they're not correct, because in the stereotypes we tend to generalize things and blow things out of proportion. But at the same time, again, you know, there is no smoke without fire. Like, nothing comes from nothing, really. So maybe things are blown out of proportion, but there is something. So, to what extent do you agree that some, or a percentage, big or small, of such schools or such academies or such organizations tend to really isolate second generation or first generation people from the mainstream and tend to make them aliens, legal aliens in their new adoptive country? Do you think that that is just a myth, or is there some profound support for this?
I believe that there is some great evidence for that. I can see that happening. I myself, I work at a school, and it is an Islamic school. And one of the things that I realized, and it's not my only school that I've worked across Canada in other schools as well. What really hits me is if the country, or if the school is not, if it's not encouraging or promoting Canadian unity, then there will be a red flag for me myself. And it wouldn't be a place that I would continue teaching or facilitating any of our Canadian beliefs, especially if I felt I was going to be attacked. But on the contrary, the school that I work, which is right now in Canadian based, it promotes Canadian unity. And one of the beautiful things that we have is our wide staff of Canadian non-Muslims. Basically, this is an Islamic school, but you have like a staff, about 30 of them. More than half of them are not Muslim. They're Canadian origin. They are aware of our culture, and we're aware of theirs. And so, for instance, if I'm, there, and if I say Salaam alaikum to, one of the students, I will find sometimes one of my colleagues as well. Hey, how are you doing, Miriam? Be talking to her, and she doesn't feel alienated, because it's the multicultural sense that we've created in the school that's made also the students, they'll see me in hijab, and yet they'll see her without, and that's okay. They don't say, oh, it's because she's not Muslim. And then we also have Muslims that don't wear hijab too. So that also, they've realized that, no, you're not based on how you look. You're not based on what my parents have said.
You're not being judged all the time, like
exactly.
There's no stigma. And again, is it okay? Because in some places, like it is, like you said, assalamu alaikum, which basically means peace be upon you. But in some places, it is strictly prohibited to use any other greeting. So would it be okay if I tell you, like, if you tell me salam alaikum, I tell you good morning, or like, how are you doing, instead of replying wa alaikum assalam and peace be on you? Would that be okay too?
That's more than okay. We have our vice principal who's not Muslim, and we've wished her a Merry Christmas. Over the holidays, Happy New Year. She came to our gathering, we go to hers, we visit each other. Of course, COVID restrictions apply, but saying good morning, that's the first thing I say when I walk into the reception, to my fellow colleagues that are secretaries and the ones that are in the office administration. We have to greet each other with what makes them suitable, with what they feel comfortable with. And on that point too, even my students, a lot of them that are at the school come from public schools, have parents that are also not Muslim. So the whole assimilation that happens in our school, it actually prepares them for the outside world, because we're not all dressed, first of all, we're not all dressed the same. We're also different sects of Muslims working within the school. The thing that unifies us is that we teach the same curriculum, just like the public schools. And the school particularly that I work at, the reason why it's called an Islamic school is because of the fact that we offer Islamic studies, and we offer, Quran and Arabic. We also offer indigenous studies. We have some students that are also of the First Nation, Inuits and Métis. So this is something that's not there. I love going to work. It makes me feel Canadian and Muslim at the same time.
And is it mandatory to sit for the religion or the Quran recitation classes? Is it mandatory for all students, or is this, something that you can choose to, or you can opt out?
Mm-hmm. We've had the case where there were students, they were in junior high, where they've never taken Arabic before. It was very uncomfortable to be the only one in class who has no knowledge of Quran. So parents requested, and this was something that was done in my presence, where the students would opt. And there's no problem with that, because like we said, you're coming to an Islamic school, but you're not forced. It's just something that this is an education that you want your child to have, but it has to work at his own pace.
Okay, and suppose that you have a parent who brings his or her child to the school, and they really like the spirit of the school, but they're not interested in the Islamic part at all. Would you accept them?
I think we'd look at it from a more behavioral perspective. Like, if their child is willing to still be there, just abide by basically, okay, you have this block that's 45 minutes. If you just want to sit there and just participate in class, by all means, we allow it. It really goes to what we decide with the parents. Like, sometimes a student is not willing to sit, so that would be a different story. But if they are, and they're, and not even if they're engaging in the class, if they don't understand what's going, but just being an active listener is more than enough. And I think teachers appreciate if a person can, sit there and listen better than getting up and wandering around. So it's very welcomed.
And how do you deal with touchy issues or controversial issues like, the pride community, for instance, the LGBTQ. So the LGBTQ and the pride community are fully respected. They have full constitutional rights, and they have the right to hold every position in Canada, and they should be treated with full respect and support. From a religious point of view, that this might be a controversial issue. So how do you deal with this, really controversial matter? Like, if students, they would tell you according to sacred text, but the Constitution says this and that. So how do you deal with this contradiction here?
First of all, we have a zero tolerance for bullying policy. We've established this, and at one time we did have a workshop, and it was during the summer, where students did ask about the LGBTQ plus, and they said, oh, if and someone tried to make a joke, it was absolutely immediately refuted. And our religion, basically, is what we outlined, respects everyone. We have our religion, others have theirs. Does not mean we are allowed at all to bash them. We are not allowed to make jokes and start laughing and thinking as if they're any less human than we are. If I also gave instances just recently, if you were to see someone on the bus, in the supermarket, you are not allowed to give any gestures of hatred, because our religion promotes love. And even if we do not believe in whatever anyone else believes in. Like, set aside any nationality, any other belief. You're not allowed at all to make fun of, bully, say harsh or cruel words to anyone. It's very, very serious. And one thing that we did touch up on is the transgender community. And as Muslims, it's not our position at all to judge who is, who's not. If someone says it openly, this is something that we leave always to their, their belief. This is what they want to portray about themselves. No one has that right to stop them.
And if a student in the school or a member of the staff would choose to change their gender or would choose to be part of the LGBTQ, would they be suspended? Would they be terminated? Would they or would they still be welcome to stay?
So this is a question, I guess, that would go to the top, but put that aside. Like I said, it's the same answer, because their purpose for coming to the school from the beginning is to teach, right? Or if they're going to be fulfilling their job. We don't look at that as a criteria from the beginning. So even after someone changing along the ways, it would only be to the point where if it's affecting them. I think we've had in the past where people wanted to leave on their own will because they wanted to change their lifestyle. We don't put that pressure, even if a non-Muslim walks in. And I don't mean to change the subject at all, but I'm saying if that person openly said, I will not cover, I want to dress a certain way, we do have a dress code, but we never implement someone to wear hijab. Men as well, they're not prevented to wear their jewelry. We also have teachers that have tattoos. So even in Islam, like I said, it's very diverse. And children are not going to be, like students in front of me, they've asked, one of their teachers, oh, what does that tattoo stand for? It's open. Yeah, it's open because they're going to see it in the streets. They're going to see it everywhere. That's the only way you can have a learning experience.
And you said that you have teachers from different backgrounds, and it's very common to greet them during Christmas, during, like Easter. I believe something like Hanukkah for if they're Jewish, or like Diwali if they're Hindu, etc., etc., etc. So there is complete tolerance for this. There is complete, understanding and respect, mutual respect between all. So, like belief is something, but belief is a matter of choice, but respect is mandatory. And but again, in the Canadian environment or in the Canadian school system, students are fully encouraged to think and to test every piece of information that they receive. So let's say that one student approaches you or approaches one of the other teachers during a religion class, and they tell you, you know what, I don't believe in the story of creation, or I don't believe in Adam and Eve, or I don't believe in whatever. I don't believe in Noah's Ark. What would be your answer to them?
First of all, we have something called open mic. And we do welcome these questions, because if there's doubt, the only thing that can refute doubt is knowledge. Based on that, so when a student does come up and say, for instance, I don't believe that God is the all-merciful, or they have a problem which could be at the depth of their creed itself, we do sit and talk. It's not something that, oh, this is blasphemy, how could you say that, and blame the student, because cognitively, if there is someone who gave you that trust and is starting to speak about doubts and beliefs, and they've come to you, it's a responsibility, we call it in Arabic an amana, to try to come up with an answer for them. Not necessarily what I believe is going to be his conviction or her conviction, like she's going to believe in it, but at least we will do our part to try to explain things And luckily for us, not only do we have imams, we also have people with PhDs in science and chemistry, and they can also argue with science. It's not something that would be just limited to the Islamic creed.
Okay, so that student will not be shunned or like told to shut up or none of this. You would have an open argument with them, and they would not feel marginalized if even if they don't fully have the conviction you're talking about. If even if
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so that is absolutely welcomed here. So this school and this academy of yours is in Alberta. So did you ever think of like spreading your wings a little bit, like in other parts of Alberta, like neighboring provinces and Canada-wide?
Yes, I did. I did go to Ontario, and I also worked there. It was just at the beginning of the start of the Serene Academy. I thought I'd also try another Islamic school that was there. I didn't stay that long there because I wanted to focus more on the Serene Academy.
And can people who are not in Alberta join you remotely? Is there any kind of remote teaching happening, like away from the COVID, crisis that
Yes,
we're living in right now? Do you offer online classes?
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Uh,
Yeah, even from I kind of extended it even to Canadians that are living abroad.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
But so far it's only for girls and women, as far
Yeah,
as I.
and on the occasion, we have, and we do have teenage boys, mind you not. We do have that now.
Okay.
Um, yes, and in the near future, we're also going to be having a facility for the men. So we're thinking of branching out, not only just
Okay.
keeping
But
it in
but
one
again,
place.
it would be women, men, or like a group of people, like just an open discussion for just based on age. So like you'd have adults, men and women together,
Hmm.
teenagers, boys and girls together. Is that a possibility, or is that
Yes,
very
yes.
far-fetched?
No, not at all. It's very near because, like I said, sometimes it's actually more beneficial even for the host or whoever's giving the workshop to see that interaction and to also pick out problems, because we've had in the past where you have, misogyny, where there's a boy coming to attack the female gender, and just explaining how much, we have that privilege. So these are one of the things that we definitely look into, and sometimes it's also an experiment for some age groups to see where they're at.
Sometimes again there is a contradiction between what someone might believe from the spiritual side or from the religious side, but again, as a good citizen, they have to abide by the law and the Constitution. So, for example, the law and the Constitution of Canada, they totally prohibit any form of polygamy or polyandry or like any form of multiple simultaneous having more than one spouse at the same time, be it male or female, be it LGBTQ or like regular or heterosexual. Um, a woman marrying more than one man, marrying more than one woman, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, somebody might come and argue, and they tell you, well, religion allows me to marry more than one wife. Unfortunately, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in some circumstances, some religious institutions might do this under the table. So they might not give you an official document, but they do the rituals. The ceremony happens, and whatever rituals, whatever text they have to read, whatever sayings, whatever, like the religious ritual goes on, but they just don't record it. So how would you tackle a matter like that in your school or in your academy?
Um, School or the academy. So two different things. With the academy, if I'm dealing with an adult, um, and from a religious perspective, even if they're living in Canada, they are taking a risk. To them, it might not be illegal, but if, authorities find out, I would lay it out to them. If something's illegal in a country and you're going against, what's allowed here, you are risking yourself. And in the case where it is allowed in Islam to have more than one wife, there are certain things they are sacrificing. As a Canadian living here, you're not going to be given many rights because of the secrecy that you've chosen. I would outline it, and I'm very sure that even those that do choose that way of life, there are a lot of struggles that they're going through. This is not something that I personally believe that it's the correct thing to do, because in any case, if someone said this man is married to one or more than one wife, he's in big trouble, unfortunately. So this is not in school. We don't have that, obviously, because we're only dealing with the students. Parents, we don't get into their personal lives. But as for the academy, like I said, I am sure if I were to hear this from a woman, I'm sure she's going to be telling me about her daily challenges more so.
Okay, the reason the Canadian Constitution or like the Canadian law prohibits multiple marriages or multiple simultaneous marriages or having more than one spouse at the same time is not only like they don't just prohibit it per se, it's not like it's not a dictatorship, but basically because they feel that this is a form of, you know, disrespect for the spouse. This is a form of treating them with disdain. Would you ever, use some such terminology with those people who might resort to such behavior? So, okay, so it's allowed. So is it you just have a green light? So, if the religion allows it just openly, like anyone who can have more than one spouse should go ahead and have more than one spouse?
For me, it would be kind of like turning the tables on. I'd be treating them the same way I treat the LGBTQ, where I don't tell them this is, from what I believe or whatnot. I'd have to respect their decision as well. But for them to, ask for my support or encouragement, I'm on the fence for that one, because first of all, if it's not a personal, like if it's not in my life, I don't think I could actually, answer that question, because I've never been through that. But in the case of me actually giving them the green light, no, I don't think I give any light. I think that'd be my answer.
And another very controversial issue again is men and women. Men being the guardians, the leaders, you know over women, and women are being like second class. They're supposed to be very submissive and subordinate to men. You, as a woman who works in a school, who founded an academy, it is very obvious that you're a very proactive woman. You have a strong personality and spirit there. Um, did you face any form of criticism or bullying for that? And if yes, how did you deal with it?
Um, I think in one point, there was a lot of challenge with those that opposed my decisions to want to go out and work. How I refuted any type of criticism that was not constructive is telling them that in Islam, we are liberated. Just, we are allowed to do what we can, what we do, as long as it's something that's beneficial to ourselves firstly, then to our families. For me, I would never say that I was, prevented. I myself, I was born and raised in Canada. So I, for one, came from a family that very much encouraged me to get my education, get my degree, work, and make something of myself. My parents are probably my number one support, and my brothers to that too. They're very supportive. A lot of the work that I do, I would say 50-50. I get as much recognition and appreciation from the men as much as the women.
So maybe last but never least, which is an extremely, extremely controversial issue of this day and time, is that some people might preach that Muslims or Christians or Jews or whatnot, but here let's talk about Muslims, because here we're talking about in an Islamic school or an academy, that they say that religion and belief is the first and foremost thing that you should think about. So your true brother and sister or is the person who believes in the same religion as you are. So there isn't anything called nationalism or patriotism. These things are made by infidels and unbelievers. So if somebody is from a totally different cultural background and or even an opposing culture or background to your country, as long as they believe in the same religion that you do, you should always, love them dearly. While if somebody belongs to the same country you are from, but they believe in a different, religion or have a different style of life, you cannot become compatriots. Or these are just things that are human made, and this is not what God wants.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in that. The school that I work in, we don't preach that at all. We say humanity. We all come from Adam and Eve, and if even those that don't, believe in that, we're all human. So regardless of the country or the nation that they're from, their background, their origin, I treat people equally because we all have the same basic rights. First of all, we all think, we feel, we hurt. Even anyone's pain is our pain. Because if we're living in a world where if you see something wrong happening and you just, brush it off, you're doing more harm than good. And it goes to say that, like I said, if we look at it, if you're human, therefore you're my brother, you're my sister. I always like to refer to the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he saw the funeral of a Jewish man being passed by, and he stood up, and out of respect. So this was my greatest, I took that by example, is that when any person like anything happens, any death that I hear of, it's the same as if it happened in my own family, of my own religion, of my own origin. So there should be no distinction when it comes to respect at all. We respect all religions, all people of different backgrounds. And when we teach this to our students, we make them more intellectual. We make them actually more emotionally intellectual. And this is something that I would say, we can save this for another talk, but if we actually teach this to our children, we'll actually have natural born leaders that way.
Mm-hmm. So you do support patriotism and nationalism, and so that, I should care the most about a Canadian because he's a Canadian like me? Or is it just a fellow Muslim?
Fellow human. I care about the fellow human, regardless of them being of religion. And even, I could give you my own example, and I don't mind. I saw a car accident of someone who I knew in the past. It was a mother of a client. I know for a fact that she's an atheist. She does not believe in God. My first instinct was to help save her. I called 911. She was crossing the street, got hit by a car. I didn't think, oh no, that's not what Islam teaches me, or oh no, she's not Muslim. Not
I
at
totally
all.
understand what you're saying, but sometimes, and it does happen, that there is a serious conflict between a country of the same faith and your country.
Hmm.
But so, which side would you take? So, you do take the side of brothers and sisters in your faith, or would you take the side of your brothers and sisters in nationalism, in patriotism? You go to with your fellow Canadians or fellow Muslims. If there is a conflict here,
Hmm.
because this is $1 billion question actually in this day and age for a lot of people living today in Canada.
Right. So if this situation was in Canada.
Yeah, so like there is a conflict between Canada and another country that shares your faith. Which side are you taking? Or will you just stay neutral and say, you know what, let them clash with each other, I don't care?
No, I don't think it's a matter of me not caring. It depends on the situation of what is the just thing to do, and what is it that is in my power to do. And I'm the type of person who, if there's something right I can say, something right I can do in any point. If I see, for instance, if I will give you a situation where if I see a fellow Muslim inflicting harm on a non-Muslim, I will not be with the one who's inflicting harm. I will stop the harm. So this is actually my own belief. I wouldn't say, oh no, it's okay. I don't mind if a Muslim transgresses. As a duty as a Muslim is to stop the oppression, to stop what's going on wrong, and to also explain that regardless, we're not supposed to be killing each other. We're not supposed to be doing this. Yeah, a human is a human. You're inflicting harm on another person. They have feelings.
It's a very controversial issue because they say that a lot of people would totally avoid joining the military, for example, or if their children are interested in joining the military, the parents would advise them not to, because if you're a soldier in the military, you follow the orders, period. So you're not in the position of telling them, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. A soldier puts his country above anything. So wherever my country is going, I'm going. Wherever my country is fighting, I'm fighting. They don't have this idea of like, is this just? Is this more just? So, which makes them really half a citizen. If you're not always ready, whether you're a civilian or a military person, in the time of need to carry arms and fight for your country, period, regardless of anything, you're never a full citizen. What would you say to that?
Well, if someone is in the army and they are required to fight, that's exactly what they should do. Yeah. If they're in the army, because unless you're sacrificing yourself, like it wouldn't make sense. Are you sacrificing for your country or for yourself? Regardless, it almost seems like to that when they're in that situation, that's what you signed up for, basically.
I totally understand what you're saying. The very end, is there some form of advice or call you'd like to give to our viewers? I'll just leave, these 2 minutes for you if you want to give something to our viewers, if you want to give some form of advice to other institutions who give similar service as yours across Canada. I'll just give you these 2 minutes.
Okay. I guess I'll say something that I was told many years ago. Basically, I kind of ruined it. Okay, so I was told, like maybe plus 20 years ago, is if you want to make a difference, first change the things that you see wrong in yourself so you could benefit others. And it makes a big difference when you're an adult and you're speaking to a young person and thinking that they're automatically going to get what you say. You have to give that chance for that, student or that child that you're speaking to room to grow. So don't think that they're going to start from where you ended off. That's all.
Yeah, that's very well said. And really, it was a delight having you with us in the program. And I wish you all success in your endeavor, and hoping to see more, examples like that. These are very bright examples, and we hope to have more beacons of tolerance and understanding, and that might bridge, the wide, I don't know what to call it really, because sometimes you feel that we are living in a big archipelago of isolated islands. So again, it was a real pleasure having you with us in the program. And dear viewers, if we were to recap and conclude, when you come to your adoptive country, you chose to come here. And definitely, it would never make sense. I always compare that to moving to a new house or a new apartment. It is impossible for me to leave an old apartment or a new house and move to another apartment or house and then take every piece of my luggage and my furniture and everything to the new house. It's absolutely impossible. It's illogical, because there's different of taste, different of size, different of age. Same thing when you move to a new adoptive country. It's totally impossible for you to just try to make a mini country within the country. You just try to force and cram by force, like every kind of belief that you had in your former country, and try to force it in the new country. Furthermore, you're doing much more harm than benefit to your child if you start spoon feeding them that. And you would totally isolate them, and this would put them in a big, big trauma when they grow up. And they would have a very, very hard choice to take. So you took the decision to become part of this country. It opened its arms for you. It gave you the full support. So out of at least self-respect, you should act up to it. And at the end of the day, if we just take off the facade here, we're all humans with 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, 2 hands, 2 feet. So at the end of the day, we're all the same. And if you believe in superpower, in a God, or even if you're an atheist, but you believe in Mother Nature, for some, I believe, very logical reason, our brain is put at the very top of our heads, at the very top of our bodies. So this should be the leader, and not our wild emotions and sentiments. They'd never take us anywhere. Just like the name of this program, the spectra, we all love the rainbow because of the variety of colors and the contrast it makes. Beauty is in the difference. So let's all enjoy the difference and encourage it, rather than try to put it out. Dear viewers, thank you very much for joining us. Until we meet again, please take very good care.